Simon, Jim, hello, how you doing? I want to congratulate you, Jim, because this is the furthest Scotland have got in a World Cup for, this century, isn't it?
Wow. Thank you very much. Get it over quickly. Listen, we've been to World Cup finals. We know what to expect. Adrian, what can we expect then in Qatar? You've been out there all week. You're getting used to the place. What kind of place have you landed in?
Well, I'll give you a weather report first of all. First few days was really, really windy, but today that wind has died down and we have hit temperatures of 30. So I've just been out and about doing a metro report, and I've been melting. It's extremely hot for somebody like me out there. It's extremely hot, but you can tell just by looking at me, I can't take the sun particularly well. This is the kind of weather it's going to be in November, December. Now, we spent a lot of time yesterday with, do you remember Nicky Summerby? He played for Sunderland and Manchester City.
Yeah, of course.
He's been living out here for about 10 years, and he told us he expects there to be some rain during the World Cup. He thinks that maybe fans who have preconceived notions of the conditions that they're expecting in Qatar will be slightly surprised that it will be quite cool in the evening and it may be quite wet during the World Cup as well. So that's the weather report done. In terms of the place, it's beautiful and historic. We all know there's negatives with it at all. I was listening closely to your interview with the girl from Amnesty International last week, which was, I thought, a fantastically informative interview. It educated me on a lot of things, but what I really liked was how she said, listen, we want people to go over there and shine a light on what's happening. So that's what we're hoping to do on talkSPORT now and during the tournament as well.
While you've been there, Adrian, I don't know, does this sound a silly question? I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you have complete freedom to move around where you want, when you want?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's funny you say that, because yesterday I popped down to a restaurant for a spot of lunch. It was quite a warm lunchtime, so I had shorts on, and they turned me away at the door saying not in shorts. Now, whether that's because of my legs, and I was very offended, because I think that, look at me, I think my legs are my best feature. So I was deeply offended. The ego came crash landing, but I think obviously it's a cultural thing, and they didn't want that much skin showing while diners were having their food.
Right.
It's true. Ironically enough, you were looking out over the Persian Gulf, and there were adults swimming in the sea wearing next to nothing. So that was enough to put me off my lunch. But just little things like that, cultural differences, and I'm all for respecting those. Now, there's some that we would vehemently disagree with, of course. But in terms of freedom to move around, I'm here with our female producer, Izzy, and there's freedom for her to move around. So I can't see a problem. I think if you're a single woman, you're advised to go, or you have to go into what they call a family carriage on the metro. I've just found that out. So there's little details that need to be respected when you come here. But generally, Jim, I think it's all right. If you want to go out and about getting absolutely hammered, drinking in the streets, singing songs, ripping your top off, that's not going to happen, by the way.
Adrian, just going back on what you said about going into the restaurant. One, it may have been a dress code for the restaurant, but two, I know that Ramadan's very close, and maybe they're just getting tourists up to speed on what they can and can't wear through Ramadan, and obviously through Ramadan you have to cover your legs and your arms.
Yeah, it's a very good point, Trevor. We're not quite there yet, but we are going to be having a briefing on that, because sometimes, particularly with England fans, and I don't want to generalise, because I think most of the England fans that certainly I know, and I've travelled abroad with England fans as a fan, they are respectful, and they do go and they want to embrace other cultures. But there's a certain element of the England fans that don't. They want to be Brits abroad. They want to be, stripped to the waist, and they want to be themselves. And they'll be aggressive with people who won't let them be themselves. But I think this is a place where you need to be respectful. There's many preconceived notions of Qatar back home, and I'd say some of them, there is some substance to them, but some of them are well wide of the mark.
Here's Simon.
I was going to expand, I think, Adrian, upon that, about the preparedness from their side for all the different cultural adjustments that fans are going to make. Whether we do or we don't advocate for England fans behaving in a certain way, there is a certain brand of support that we bring, some of it good, some of it not so good. That's also relevant to other countries as well. Do you get the sense that in that part of the world they understand, irrespective of whether FIFA brings its own show into town and has its own law, but do they understand the landscape of what a World Cup really holds, and all the different diverse cultures coming into an environment that at times is anything but diverse?
It's a terrific question. And when you think about it, you're basically asking, do they know what they're letting themselves in for? Have they really witnessed footage of England fans at their very worst? Because we need a worst
case scenario. Not just England fans, Adrian. Not just England fans.
Yeah,
fans per se.
That's fair. That's fair. That's a very good point. I haven't seen any police presence since I've been here whatsoever. Now, the World Cup's not on. There are no England fans here. This is the World Cup draw. That's why I'm here. So in that respect, there's not a heavy police presence generally day to day that I've seen in and around Doha. I can't believe the FIFA and the local security, the local police will not be briefed and prepared for what might happen when a load of fans from around the world come. But I think generally speaking, the fans that I've seen, I've been to a lot of tournaments in the last 20 years. You know, we're talking about whole families coming from South America. It's a beautiful atmosphere in the main. And there's only small minorities of fans from different countries, you're right, Simon, that can make it ugly. Let
me push the question in a different direction, Adrian. Given the West's attitude, right, and this disposition that's coming from certain countries around the world about their resistance to the human rights atrocities of people dying in building stadiums, towards the misogynistic aspect of the culture, towards the marginalisation of particular genders and sexualities, do you get any sense of the reaction that the Qataris are having themselves to this sort of pseudo-vilification that's coming from the football teams like the Norwegians and other players that have resisted and, or more to the point, protested against the outlook of certain aspects of that culture?
Well, FIFA have said they've welcomed, say, the FA's scrutiny of what's going on in Qatar. But again, I think Gareth Southgate really summed it up perfectly in one of his press conferences last week when he said that, you know, you can want to make a difference, but is a World Cup with a load of fans and a load of footballers going to Qatar for a month, is that going to make a difference?
That's not my point, Adrian. My point is the culture itself, watching this, some people would say virtue signalling, some people would say making legitimate protests about the culture that these people live in and accept, and us superimposing our Western values over it. Do you get any sense from the Qataris, hang on a second, you bunch of bloody footballers, we're quite happy with the way we live?
I don't get a sense of that, no. I wore, you'll see they'll put together a Metro video. I put out a tweet actually already with some pictures of me on the Metro just to say, well, this is coming up. And I was wearing an FA England Pride badge. And the reason I was wearing that, I was kind of almost testing the water really to see what reaction there was to it. There were a lot of people who looked at it, wondered what it was. There was no reaction whatsoever. Now, Pride's a global movement. The rainbow thing is a global movement. I'd be surprised if they didn't know what it was. But, you know, I felt perfectly safe wearing that. Nobody attacked me. Nobody said anything to me about it. Nobody shook my hand and said, well done. But I don't get the sense that people are offended that you're quite right. What a lot of people are doing is superimposing their values on others. Well, they could come to our country and do that. You know, we've got kids who can't eat, who can't even afford to cook their food from food banks. So,
exactly.
I mean, we've all, as somebody said to me yesterday, we've all got dirt on our hands. So I don't think we can be morally superior to anybody.
Adrian, as we know, at World Cup finals, trouble starts when fans get tanked up. Are they able to do that out there? Can fans who arrive in Qatar somehow magic up themselves 12 cans of beer and sit in a position in the city and just start bevying?
I really believe that's not going to happen.
No.
I'm not quite sure. I can't answer the question as to if a group of England fans do that. Just sit in the Souk Waqif, the fantastically amazing historic kind of market area, if you like. I've just been there now. If they do that, just sit there drinking all day, then I'm not quite sure what will happen, but I don't think that will be allowed to happen. Now, what you can do is have a civilized drink in some hotel bars. So there's a sports bar at the hotel we're in. There's another one at another hotel just up the road as well. It's just like any sports bar you'd see in any part of the world.
Yeah.
So they can do that. If that's not enough for them, then I think that they're going to have one or two problems. The England fans, I think most of them are quite respectful. As long as they can have a few drinks, I think they'll be all right. If it was totally dry, I think that they would be thinking, hang on a minute, this isn't quite right for us. Or there's also the fan parks, and there'll be a lot of them as well. And I think that they will be, the England fans will find them very good for them.
Yeah, when's the draw then? We're talking Friday. What sort of time of the day are we talking?
It's during drive time. So Andy Goldstein, Darren Bent will be doing drive tomorrow from 4 through till 7. And we will be hosting part of that, co-hosting, if you like, myself and Andy Townsend from the draw venue just up the road at the exhibition centre. You know how these things go, Jim and Simon and Trevor. They take a long time. There's a lot of fluffing around. When we get to it, we'll get to it. We'll find out who England are going to play, who Scotland could have played. Here's what you could have won. And so...
well, we're not over yet.
We won't, I know. It's Scotland, Wales, or Ukraine. You've got a 33.3% chance. Well, no, you haven't actually. It's less than that, isn't it? Wales have got a 50% chance. I don't know.
Who's seeded?
That's right. Wales have got 50%.
Who's seeded? What are the seedings?
England are seeded. We know the top seeds in the group. Just got them in front of me now. It's England, Qatar as hosts, Brazil, Belgium, France, Argentina, Spain, and Portugal. So England could get Senegal. They could get Germany because 5 of the 8 groups will have 2 European sides in them. There's all sorts of jeopardy, as there always is with any draw. But England being in pot 1 and being seeded, I think Gareth Southgate, when he came into the job, that wasn't the case. So that shows you where he's taken England.
Okay, well, if it was today, they couldn't start the tournament because Simon's got the ball. Adrian, listen, thank you so much for joining us live from Qatar. And we will be listening to every word that you come away with on Friday. Adrian Durham is live for talkSPORT at the draw. Adrian, thanks, mate.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.